Alright, welcome back to Nick Lenz's Comic Corner, Classic Less Known Classics. This is episode number 3566, Doubleshot 3460. Got two DC trades. One is secondary of the ongoing series, the other is miniseries. First we have is JSA Volume 2 Ragnarok, which contains issue 712 of JSA Volume 2. Basically, we got a lot of follow-up with this one. We wrap up a big story, and a lot of stuff happened in the course of these 6 issues alone. Yes. So, Jeff Lemire's writer, with Diego Oreligi as your main artist, with Rafael Delori does issues 7 and 10, A's by Gavin Gardry. So, the opening issue is a flashback on Ted Grant with a boxer, and then we open up on the funeral of Ted Grant. Yes. And basically, they bring up about Yolanda, the fact you remember the JSA, and the fact his son is there, who I believe he was like the third Wildcat, if I'm not mistaken. Yes. So, yeah, and of course, like this was really cool here. And of course, you also have, the Power Girl talking to Yolanda, and of course, Yolanda calls her Paige. Which I am sure, in the case of Lemire, he probably was told to refer to as Paige because it was probably an editorial mandate he had to do that. Because, of course, I'm sure he probably would probably call her how to refer to, when she not just refer to as Power Girl. I'm sure she would refer to as Karen, not Paige. So, and of course, they debate the whole thing of like no Wildcat, and of course, basically because the son doesn't want anything to do with it. So then we have Rick and Jesse Quick, where Jesse looks at a picture of her awesome parents, Johnny Quick and Liberty Bell, and here is my one complaint about how Jeff Lemire writes these characters. There is no mention of the fact now. Prior to Flash reboot in 2011, Jessie was pregnant. And then when she's brought back in the current continuity, there's no mention of what happened to the baby. None whatsoever. Did the baby die? Who knows? It is a complete mystery. I think she did give birth in a Convergence miniseries, but here, there's no mention of the baby. None whatsoever. And of course, Rick keeps telling her he loves her. She knows. And then we have Sand talking to Jade. Yeah, Sand, despite the fact that in the pre-Flashman continuity, played a big role in the Rich ASA book by Jeff Johns. Here, he just is there. Now, it's not the character's fault. It's Lemire's fault for that. So, and then we have Jericho. And then, of course, we have Khaled, who is missing his helmet because he was taken the last book. So, Jericho is in a coma, and then of course we have DC's Holy Trinity, that being Batman and Wonder Woman will show up because JSA is kind of part of the Justice League, and she's like, I guess so. They come and tell I'll be here. Of course, first one of us. All right, we're all part of your Justice League now, huh? Easy, Todd. It's not having authority of the JSA and everybody else. The scope of new league is about meant to be inclusive and now bearing. We should have Superman. We're happy to cooperate with the league, but JSA can have its own business we always have. No, you haven't. Excuse me? You let things spiral out of control, Alan. Half your team missing, presumed dead, Cobra's dependent on a deep presence in the U.S., and Injustice Society pose massive threat to global security. I said, we just want help, Alan. I know it, Diana. When you see it's through for Ted. We just want to give you time to process what happened. The league number's vast. Which is ever advancing point. We can stop at the Injustice Study while you take time to mourn Wildcat and looking missing members. Like, I gotta admit, basically, from Superman's perspective, that's actually not a bad idea because he has 3 major problems. Mourning Wildcat, missing members, and of course, also, the Injustice Society. Taking that threat off the table for them does alleviate them stuff the 2. Yeah. Yeah, Mac Flash, don't mention his son. You were in the JSA if one JSA League exists. And Mischievous is calming down. Yeah, apparently also Jeff Meir kind of forgot the fact that Mischievous was part of the JSA. As a matter of fact, he was their chairman for a long time. Yes, he was elected the chairman of the JSA after an encounter with Roulette, and I guess they forgot that he was chairman of the JSA at some point. I'm not really sure, so... And then we have Hawkgirl. This, of course, is the Kendra Saunders version. Walking with Kid Eternity, the new one. It's like Walking to Death, of course, talking to Wildcat. And then we see the ghost of Kent Nelson, the original Adam, Wesley Dodds, Rex Tyler, Dr. Minute, and now Wildcat. Now, of these characters, all these characters were dead except for him. He was the only one still left alive prior to Flashpoint because of the android Iron Man taking his place. But, like, Wildcat being dead here, that's new. But in the case of the other ones, Wesley Dodds died in a Secret Files and Origins book. Dr. Fate died prior to that. The Atom and Dr. Midnight died in 0 Hour. So now we're dealing with basically past 1945. Wildcats working Rex Tyler. And of course we have Liberty Bell punching Baron Blitzkrieg. That's always awesome because Baron Blitzkrieg is a terror person. He's a freaking Nazi. Also, they have a counter here with the Unknown Soldier. Yep. They're thinking, interesting, Unknown Soldier. Now, by the way, this is not the version that popped up in Suicide Squad. Bam Glass. Oh no, this is the original World War II version that debuted in the 70s. And then we have where the JSA is getting on this Axis group. And then they run into Johnny Sorrow and Watoon. Weird thing with Johnny Sorrow. Watoon has basically been around since the 1940s. Debuted in a Dr. Fate story in the Morphon comics. Johnny Sorrow made his debut in Secret Origins 80-page Secret Origins for Supervillains 80-page Giant. You're like, a villain debuted in a giant-sized one-shot? Yes. He is today probably the only villain I can think of to ever do that was debuted in a giant-sized one-shot. Yes, Bane technically made his debut in a one-shot, but wasn't a giant-sized one-shot. It was like a standard-sized one. And of the two characters, Bane is more known than Johnny Sorrow is. Yes. Also, the man is not seen, and of course, they deal with him. The little appearance about the Blackhawks, look like some Valkyries. And it's a really cool flashback to World War II. And of course, deal with the Spirit Destiny, which was a thing. And then, of course, we also have where Watoon is basically talking to the leader Cobra. And of course, Scandal Sapphire and Justice Society, which is interesting. And then we see the helmets put with this weird machine, which does play a role later on in the book. So, then of course we also, I think this is, I'm trying to think, who's this girl? I think it's Beth Chapel. Yes, Beth Chapel, and of course you have Scandal trying to take her out. Get this in movie, thank you. Yeah, trying to take her out, of course, and then we have Obsidian working, looking at the mind of Jericho Thunder, and they're running into, Johnny Thunder. And the fact that he's kind of forgot about that, about, like, I don't know. They're going to know. They're like, say it together. Say it. Oh, no, remember, say it. See you. And, by the way, Jericho Thunder's, his catchphrase, Summon Thunderbolt, was so cool. And then they summon Thunderbolt, and apparently, wants to actually use his brother, deal with that. And, of course, we also have still missing members of the JSA. And this is, of course, really cool. And then, of course, we have Khaled visiting a bar. You got an ID, kid? I'm 21 and I'm a doctor. Well, la-dee-da. Yeah. And, of course, basically, like, Yolanda is basically because the fact that basically she's like this because she killed a Cobra agent, he had it coming. And you have Beth fighting Scandal, and of course we have this round. You're thinking, like, why did Lemire turn an anti-hero into a full-blown villain like this? No idea. Oh, by the way, and it's found out at this point that, oh yeah, that Beth Chapel has been traveling with Obsidian, and there's Obsidian at adjacent headquarters, and like Beth's like, I have Obsidian. Who's this? And basically, it's revealed that Obsidian was actually Johnny Sorrow. Yep. And then, of course, we have this Keeper, and then we have Hawkman, Hawk Girl here, the Borderlands of Hell. Well, they run General Ghost, I'm grinding a few trolls, and it's like, long face, sis. It's like, where's my son? And then we have our man, Jesse Quick, fighting him too. Then we have Shadow Thief. Yes, Shadow Thief. Long-time Hawkman villain. And of course, basically, Ruby wants to what her father is. And also, Watuna's got the Spear of Destiny. And of course, also, the thing is, the Keeper can't tell who Kid Eternity is until he fills her duty. Duties was mean. You are the one who walks between life and death, kid. You have the ability to visit all those who have died and to use those knowledge and their power. The JSA. And of course, basically, it's like, yeah, Lords who have chosen you, the powers of all dead members of JSA are at your disposal, starting with mine. And then, of course, she uses Dr. Fate's powers to help a Hawkman to take out, I think it's Grundy. And it's like, and then Platoon shows up here. And then, of course, basically, Rick's like, yeah, Billy said 2 words, still love you. Yeah. And they still love each other. Where the heck is their child? Where is their child? That's a good question. So yeah, and of course, basically, everybody's kind of slowly reuniting. And too late, Scott. You too late. You've lost. You lost everything. Not everything. Huh? Hey, it's Platoon, right? Kit Nelson sends regards. Yes. It's like, sorry, yes, with pleasure. Young lady, you said Kit Nelson? Yep. Not Caroline, Kit Nelson. Caroline's awesome uncle. Yeah. And then, of course, Kent contacts his nephew. You need to be Dr. Finn, gets the amulet, gets his suit back. And then we have this awesome battle in the 5th dimension. We have the 2 genies fight each other. And Yolanda puts back on her Wildcat costume. And of course, Obsidian basically is back with his dad. And we have this weird machine. And of course, basically, we have some monsters unleashed called the Unnamed Ones. Basically, we're about to wrap this up here. And it's at the headquarters of the Injustice Society. And of course, they have a massive brawl with them. Oh, super speed. Yeah, I'm just borrowing. Your dad says hi, by the way. Did you say my dad? Yeah, and your mom, Liberty Bell, too. Yep. I'm like, that is so cool, the fact you got a chance to get in contact with those 2. Now, as far as I can tell, I think Johnny Quick has been dead for a little bit here. Let me take a look here about this. So he died back in death metal. His amazing wife, Elizabeth, she also in death metal as well. Yeah, so then we have this amazing, like, this is a good thing called a reservist. It calls Cyclone Atom Smasher Yolanda against basically looks like an evil Sandman. Like, okay, that's really cool. Like Cyclone, that's interesting because I don't think she's been seen. Let's see. I'm looking about this. See. Me. Now, in case you're curious, when did the Cyclone first bring this kind of continuity? Doomsday Clock number 12. Yeah, and she has barely been part of this thing. Like she put this one shot called I saw My Hinkle Kissing Santa Claus. You're like, what? Yeah. Her appearance has been very sporadic at best, and this comic in particular is the most recent appearance today. So you're thinking, when did Adam die here? Death Metal number 2. Yeah, it seems like all the Jays members die in Death Metal number 2. Yeah, so, yeah, we bring in this massive brawl, and of course, basically, we have, then of course, Dr. Midnight about to be hurt with throat slip, a Cobra, look up Yolanda's there, and of course, holding him back, and then Yolanda gets Kyle out of helmet, becomes Dr. Fate once again. It's time. Time for what? Yep. And of course, Waka whistles in her ear, and then whispers something into Dr. Fate's ear. Johnny Thunderbolt. Time to keep these two restrained. These are very secret for your knowledge. I show you true faces, true names. This is for Ted. Like it's over. Yep, and they captured the Injustice Society. Finally all back. And then Jesse quits. Why? Just cause. And then, of course, she goes to the hole again. Maybe more Jays members. And then, of course, then the Spectre returns. First time since the All-In one-shot. And Ken Eternity becomes new host of Spectre. You're like, that's cool. Yeah, this book is awesome. I do have some slight problems with, like, what happened to Jesse Quick's child. And Sand's lack of character stuff here. It's like he just is there. But the book itself, the story itself was really good. I give it roughly a 9.5 out of 10. Next up we have is New History of the DC Universe. Now, when I first heard about this particular miniseries being announced, and Mark Waid was writing it, there was a lot of distrust with Mark Waid writing it because, well, probably because what happened with the History of Marvel Universe. Okay, you wrote that too. So this one mostly put, it's like the whole thing is like exploring DC continuity as of a couple years ago. Like, they bring up the stuff related to the JSA, the All-Star Squadron, the Justice Alliance, which is a original creation, which is the Captain Comic group. There's reference to the Legion here. The New 52 is brought up here. Basically anything you can think of. It's like, this book brings in a lot of stuff to being canon. So you can thank this miniseries for bringing in, like, a lot of the DC continuity to canon. And of course, we get the first appearance of continuity of the Boy Commandos. Yes, here's notes in the first issue. It's like, yeah, basically because anything, and this miniseries definitely was necessary. Though, in the case of, it does contradict the Jay Garrick Flash book. Yeah. I mean, there's some contradictions here and there. And they do homage to Mark Wolfman. And they do bring up this Historyverse, the Code incident. which is just a one-shot, which they chose not to collect it here for some reason. Not really sure why, but they did. And it's like, in the case of like the first issue, it's like, yeah, we get the first appearance in the continuity of Black Condor, Invisible Justice, Mongo, Name the Unknown, Red Tornado. We get flashbacks of the first 7 Green Lanterns. Which, yeah, they're basically here. Let's see, we get the origin of Nubu the Wise. Like any of first here? Well, let's see. They do confirm basically some Apache's dead. We get the first appearance of Bullet Man as Bullet Man. Well, the original Bullet Man, that is. Yes, though he technically first appeared new champion Shazam. This is basically a flashback appearance of him. We get the first appearance of a Manhunter, that being Don Reynolds. Now, who is he, you might ask? Don Reynolds, I believe he was the original Manhunter. Yes. Come on. Thank you. So, we get the first appearance of Black Pirate. This is the opening issue. We get, let's see, we get the first appearance, Justice Alliance, made of Autonoman, Captain Comic, Congo Bill, Prince, Rob Man, and Tiger Man. Now, prior to the reboot of the continuity, I'd never heard of the Justice Alliance. So apparently they did kind of exist, except they were in an alternate universe. Yeah, I guess that Mark Waid just decided to bring this concept of this group into continuity, so it is kind of interesting. Yes, so what else we got here? I really appreciate stopping that minute. Let's see. Well, we get the first appearance of Hunter's Hellcats, like I mentioned with Blood Caminos. Haunted Tank makes his debut. Various members, except for Jeb Stewart. We get cameo appearance by the Losers. We get the first appearance of Rick Flag Sr. Well, and the original Suicide Squadron. We get the first appearance of them. The Unknown Soldier. Let's see, we get Viking Prince. Wild West Heroes. We get various villains here. Stuff with the Lost Kids. It's like, yeah, let's just... This whole miniseries, now, you probably think, is there any kind of, like, notes? Well, main changes continuity. The Lord's Kiss were aliens from Kella in the pre-Flash continuity. They apparently restored that. The Great Deluge of Atlantis and the Flood the Sky Book of Genesis now are not the same event. Interesting. Eclipse was responsible for Genesis Flood. You have to kind of read the book. It's like, the book itself has a lot of exposition. Like, okay, so what about issue 2? Issue 2, however, we get Flash. We get basically it's all about the crisis. Yeah, that's kind of what this one is. All about the crisis. Because mentioned about Supergirl dying in the flashback. Don't worry, she's alive. And we get first appearance this one. Let's see. We got Robbie Reed. You thinking who's Robbie Reed? Robbie Reed was the original owner of, get this, the Age Style for Dial HB Hero. We get stuff with the Anti-Monitor, because the whole second issue is about the crisis. Yeah, and we kind of detail that. Yeah. The book itself is really good. Now, each issue is done by a different writer. Not right, different artists, excuse me. So, the opening issue, Todd Nettick. Jerry Orwood, this issue 1 as well. 2 is done by 2 artists, Brad Walker, Mike Aldred. Issue 3 is Dan Jurgens, Doug Mankey, who also is with Norm Raymond as inks. Issue 4 is Howard Porter and Hayden Sherman. New History Needs First Timeline is done by Dave Woodgoss. And it's like, so okay, so issue 3 is basically post-Flashpoint, a post-crisis. We get up with JSA in here. Not JSA, the Just International. Yep. Let's bring about Parallax. We get the first appearance of the Blood Syndicate in this book. Yes. The Prime Earth version of them. There's a flashback to Doom Patrol. We get the first appearance of Rocket, Icon Psychic. Bring up the Justice League 1 Million, Europe. I bring up the Outsiders, Shadow Pact, various members of the Dakotaverse. Bring up Sinestro Corps, Legion, yes. Oh, they bring up Sue Dibbling flashback from Identity Crisis. Yes. So that is officially canon with this continuity. Yep. Because I think for the longest time that the thing is, oh, no crisis happened in the current continuity. Identity Crisis clearly did. Yes, thanks to this book. So basically, it's also confirming that the Resurrection Man Quantum Karma is basically in canon with its continuity. And the last issue is all about the New 52. That's pretty much what it is. It's the New 52 / Rebirth stuff. So, any new introductions with this one? Not really. They bring up the Authority, some of us Batman family, one who should be still alive. Batman Incorporated. Yeah, we have the return of David Zabowie. First time that he's in a comic book since Batwing issue 18. That was the last time he ever appeared that I could think of. But apparently he did also return in DC Power Company. Yes. So apparently they implied he's part of the Power Company now, which is weird. And you think like, yeah, it's kind of weird they did that with Power Company, where they bring up, the fact that Batwing was part of this group, even though it's not making a first appearance. And apparently made an appearance in the Waller Rising one shot. Like, how? He's gone. He was mentioned. So, yeah, you could say first time we actually see him in a comic book since a long time. We bring up the Just Like Odyssey, Just Like China, the current Just Like Unlimited. It's like, yeah, we're bringing this up in the canon. They bring up the We Are Robin group. And you're like, really? They're bringing that group? Yep, they reference this group. First time the group has been brought up in some time. Probably for the first time since the end of their short-lived ongoing series. Yeah. They're bringing Young Justice, the whole stuff with various stuff with Dark Knight's Middle. And there's no actual appearances aside from the first couple issues, but yeah, and it largely lead to KO, of course, Infinite Frontier. You kind of have to read the book itself, plus you kind of read the wiki page he was basically bringing up here. So they implied that this book, Far Sector, they're making Far Sector the Prayer one-shot, Joker War, next Batman Second Son. They were unclear, like, just like 39. So this book does do a retcon. It retcons that Jason, who is Wonder Woman's twin brother, they retcon in this book that he's actually her half-brother. Yep. And he was the only son of Zeus and Hippolyta, because they restored Wonder Woman made clay. And they basically bring up the Sam Universe, the Flash War, Endless Winter, Fear State, the War of Earth 3 event, what happened in the stuff with Godhood with Green Lantern Volume 6. They basically get inconsistencies too, but you just gotta read the book itself. The book itself is interesting at best. It's like they reference in here, like, Dark Knight Metal, Task Force C, Lazarus Planet, some issues of Batman, JLA. It's like, okay, so what about the first issue of the book? They bring up in that one, Doomsday Clock, Demon Knights, Just Like Dark, Sea Gorgeous Volume 2, the current JSA book, New Golden Age, Doomsday Clock, Martian Manhunter, Volume 5. Yeah, they bring up that book. The book itself is interesting what it is, but it's a good read. But if you're interested about how stuff was undone, thanks to Dark Knight Metal, basically what stuff is canon, this book kind of confirms it. I give the book roughly a 8 out of 10, and the book had introduction by Mark Wolfman. Cool. Yep, so yeah, that's pretty much it for the video. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, to notifications. Well, next up we have is another Comic Corner, okay? Next video. Bye.